welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as FTR's, but hey, it's something. Now, I'm not gonna get into all the housekeeping because there's not much really to say, but I'm just gonna say this. You might like what comes next week, I'm just saying. So anyways, let's get right into the news. First off, we're gonna do the thing that came again right after I posted my episode, or I posted or uploaded, either one. Cory Booker drops out of the race for the Democratic presidential nomination, vows to focus on impeaching Trump. New Jersey Senator Cory Booker dropped out of the Democratic presidential race on Monday after failing to secure a place in the next debate following a campaign which failed to break double-digit support in the polls. This is not at all surprising. It is only surprising in the sense that, we'll get to that part in a second, but, first, just general thoughts on Cory Booker. But Cory Booker, many people were doing the whole thing of, Cory, your campaign raised so many important issues, and blah, blah, blah. It's no, he didn't. No, he didn't. He did not raise important issues. Yang raised UBI in the thing. Marianne Williamson, she had reparations as her big thing. Tulsi has interventionist regime change wars. Cory Booker, he didn't have a main issue. Cory was just, again, one of these elections, Diet Obama impersonators, the Diet Obama. We've had so many Diet Obama people that it's just, pretty much the entire field for a lot of people is Diet Obama. Joe Biden, Diet Obama. He's doing the Obama thing of I'm Obama. I used to be affiliated with Obama. Pete Buttigieg is doing the Obama impression by being hey, I'm a small guy and I'm doing big change, but not too much left change. Then we have Deval Patrick, who's literally, I remember calling him he's the Diet Cory Booker. Then there's the likes of Gillibrand and Robert and Kamala and Julian and Cory. They were all just trying to be the Diet Obama. I will bring hope and change, but not too much change, because, we can't go that far. That's a no-no. Okay, so the next story is small in comparison, but I think it's worth noting. John Lewis, Joaquin Castro, and 16 other Dems endorsed Joe Kennedy. Now, for those of you who don't remember, there is a Massachusetts Senate race going on where current incumbent Ed Markey is running, and Joe Kennedy III has announced that he's going to primary him. Now, Joe Kennedy III is no. I will not at all be supporting him, at all. But, his campaign is getting notoriety because many people they're just looking at his primary and being because his campaign is actually doing decently well. Some of the polls are keep an eye on this seat. This seat might be interesting. I think many people are even speculating that this seat might just flip in the primary and Kennedy will be the next senator from Massachusetts, which I do not want for a number of reasons. For starters, I'm sick and tired of the Kennedys. I'm sick and tired of these political dynasties. He's literally just running because he can. He's running because he can. He's a Kennedy. That's the only reason why he's running. And many people might it might help him win just due to the fact that he's a Kennedy. Like, this is clearly just him trying to go up the totem pole in politics. But dude, the Kennedys are over. Our new political dynasties are Bush and Clinton. Those are our dynasties. I don't know what the heck you've been smoking, but the Kennedys, their dynasties end fast. Joe, you do realize the other thing Kennedys are known for? To quote Clone High, nothing bad ever happens to the Kennedys. But this race is interesting in another way, because it's actually showing some kind of divide in how people like let me show you. Here are the people who were endorsing Kennedy in this article: Joyce Betty, Joaquin Castro, Dave Cicilline, Jill Cisneros, Derek Kilmer, Ann Kirkpatrick, Annie Kuster, Eddie Bernice Johnson, Connor Lamb, John Lewis, Sean Patrick Maloney, Stephanie Murphy, Linda Sanchez, Juan Vargas, Mark Vesey, Philemon Villa Jr., and Mark Buchan and Rahul Grijalva. Now, some are not surprising at all, like Patrick Maloney, Connor Lamb. You know, these guys are like the guys who are like, some of these guys are like chairs of New Dems and stuff, and this makes sense. But it's like, seriously, why Rahul and Buchan? You're endorsing the wrong candidate. The candidate you should be endorsing is Ed Markey. Like, I mean, and it's true. Like, I mean, you know who else is endorsing Joe Kennedy? Kirsten Sinema. You know who else is endorsing Joe Kennedy? Bill Weld. You're endorsing the same person endorsed by Bill Weld. Ed Markey. Like, Ed Markey, his campaign is getting both the support of the DCCC and small progressive groups. Sunrise Movement, Sierra Club, AOC, Ro Khanna, they're supporting Markey. Because Markey is the candidate. He's the incumbent senator that is good. He's not perfect, obviously. Like, I mean, he barely scrapes number 4 or 5 on my top current senators list. But I mean, he's in there because he's a decent and good senator. Joe Kennedy, he is not. Joe Kennedy does not support the Medicare for All Act. Maybe he's supporting the current one, but I mean, it's like a little too late, dude. Markey has shown support of at least one iteration of the bill in a previous year, and not even like, oh, the most recent one, but I mean like the current one. Not the current one, like a 2008 version of the bill. But it might be like Sherrod Brown and how he supported the Medicare for All bill back in the day and he doesn't support this one. I don't know. But Markey, he wrote the Senate version of the Green New Deal. Why is Buchan endorsing this man of Joe Kennedy? Why is he endorsing Kennedy? And I mean, of course, John Lewis and Joaquin Castro, they're pretty much the token groups of the Kennedys. You know, Hispanic and black. That's that, and you might say, well, that's racist. No, it's true. The Kennedys always get the support of African Americans and Hispanic people. I know this for a fact. Look at Joe Kennedy. Look at Jack Kennedy. Look at Bobby Kennedy. They got support from these groups. We know this for a fact. We can choose to deny it, but it would be stupid because it's true. And Grijalva, I am a little disappointed in you, bro. So much so that I it was the final straw that made me switch you and Kana's position on my website. You are now listed second. I mean, Pocan at least made up for it by endorsing the Bernie 2020 campaign. You're endorsing Warren, dude. Grelva, you're not doing so hot. So anyways, now going on from one disappointment to another disappointment. This one is about Jeopardy. Why am I talking about Jeopardy in a political episode? Did Alex Trebek announce that he's running for president? No. Here's what happened. One day, there was a game, and it was just like, Church 200, like Church for 200 points. And then Alex Trebek is like, built in the 300s AD, the Church of the Nativity, Katie Needle. Katie, what is Palestine? No. Jack. And then Jack responds, what is Israel? That's it. And that takes you to $2,200. Now, the problem is, the Church of the Nativity is located in the Palestinian territory of the West Bank, which is occupied by Israel in violation of international law. So, Palestine is the correct answer, but that's not what he said. He said Israel is the correct answer. Now, you can say, oh, it's semantics. No. It's not semantics. It is the truth. If let's say, hypothetically, the Church of the Nativity was in Jerusalem. Okay, then it'd be in Israeli territory now. You could say that now. But no, it is located in the West Bank, which is still Palestinian territory. So, it's literally just, it's not even semantics at this point. It's like literally just the wrong answer. And many Palestinian groups and all these other people are demanding an apology from Jeopardy. I don't know if that apologies went anywhere, and I doubt it will, because, US-owned media is going to be 100% Israel-oriented, because, there are some people who have those conspiracy theories about the Jewish people controlling the media, but nah, not really. It's really just American people who are obsessed with Israel for some reason. It's like America's obsession with anime. We're so obsessed with anime, we're more obsessed with anime than Japan. We're more obsessed with Israel than Jewish people are. So anyways, now on to something completely different. The USMCA, Trump's new trade deal, has went through the Senate, and it passed. Here are the people who voted nay on it. Chuck Schumer, Kirsten Gillibrand, Kamala Harris, Sheldon Whitehouse, Jack Reed, Pat Toomey, Brian Schatz, Cory Booker, Ed Markey, and Bernie Sanders. They voted on it for different reasons. Pat Toomey said it violated budget rules, whereas the Democrats who voted for it were decrying the fact that it is not going to really, one, it doesn't really address certain issues that happen with NAFTA, and two, it doesn't address the environment. Like, it doesn't mention climate change once in the bill. Now, okay, that is true, and that's the thing that people brought up in the last debate, which I'll get to in a bit. But basically, they're like, oh, but isn't a modest thing better than a drastic change? No, they're like, oh, isn't a modest change better than no change? Well, no. In climate change, there's literally no modest change. There's no middle ground. This is one of the issues where it's literally like no middle ground. Oh, but we'll fix climate change a teensy bit. Or we'll fix trade a teensy bit. But it's like, but we could fix the whole issue altogether with a better trade deal. No, but isn't a Trump trade deal better than no trade deal? Whatever you say. You're wrong, but Whatever you say, bro. Okay, so the next story is coming out of West Virginia, Mountain Mama. Basically, here's what happened. Richard Ojeda announced a 2020 race for Senate. Now, normally I'd be more excited, but, I mean, the Ojeda train is actually, to be honest, starting to fade away from me. I mean, I really liked Ojeda in the 2018 midterms, but the Ojeda train is kind of starting to dwindle. Let me explain why. Remember Ojeda's whole thing? Remember Ojeda? We all remember Richard Ojeda, right? He was a populist candidate for not state house. He was a populist candidate for West Virginia District 3 in 2018. He also ran in 2014, but 2018 was the big one where he was like, people like really paid attention to his race because his race was like big. Like, I remember there's a campaign ad I could say for his word for word because it's just great. Like, I love it. It's his angry ad. But Ojeda, he's had a bit of a period where it's starting to wind down in regards to people liking him. Like, I mean, I remember, like, he was propped up by, like, Kyle Kowinski and TYT is like, oh, he's this big lefty running in West Virginia. Okay, well, it's technically calling him a lefty would be a exaggeration. He's a populist, yes, don't get me wrong. He talks like a populist, he campaigns as a populist. He's a populist, that's 100% true. Calling him a lefty or a progressive is, okay, a bit of a stretch. For example, what does it say on his official Facebook page? His official Facebook page labels himself as a moderate. He has accepted the moderate label. Okay, so that's something that is definitely not so great. Okay, but you might say, well, I mean, that's semantics. I mean, Congressman Brad Miller of North Carolina calls himself a moderate, but he's arguably a really progressive candidate. Okay, true, fair enough. Then why does Ojeda keep endorsing moderates? Look, I mean, he endorses quite a few moderates in a lot of these big races. In the Kentucky Senate race, and he endorsed Amy McGrath. In North Carolina District 3, there was Richard Bew, who he endorsed purely because he's a soldier. And I think that's the only reason he's endorsed McGrath, too. Like, when your endorsements overlap with Seth Moulton, it's not a good sign. It's a bit of a no-no. His campaign was listed by the DCCC as like a big flip district, but I mean, we'll not hold that against him. Randy Bryce, he's a progressive guy, and his campaign had that as well. But you might say, but I mean, what about the rich? He obviously endorsed someone like Paula Jean in the Senate race, right? No, I mean, reportedly, Paula Jean stated that Richard Ojeda supported the Manchin campaign over her. And you might, and that's because him and Manchin have actually been buddy-buddy with each other a lot. Like, I mean, ever since Manchin invited him to the State of the Union, they've kind of been allies. Now you might say, oh, well, I mean, yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have the same political values. Well, he literally stated that he clapped when Manchin won the election. He was like, yes, bro, yes. Now you might say, oh, well, that's just because he was in the general election. Of course he'd be in favor of a Democrat winning in the general election. Okay, fair enough. Then I noticed his 2018 campaign. I noticed this at the time, but again, forgive me, I was a little bit naive. A year ago. Ooh. No, 2 years ago. But Ojeda, he campaigned on a public option, technically. Like, I mean, he would talk the talk of like, oh, I think everybody should have healthcare, but his website explicitly stated public option, moderate stance. So you might say, well, I mean, there might be semantics still, but, I mean, come on. What about his 2020 presidential run? Okay, yeah, I mean, it was brief, and he did campaign on a lot of progressive issues, but how come he still hasn't signed the TYT Progressive Pledge? He was there when they announced the TYT Progressive Pledge, and he hasn't signed it? You don't think it's a little peculiar? Like, I mean, this is the guy that TYT brings on all the time to, like, talk about, like, see, it could work in West Virginia. And yeah, populism can work in West Virginia, obviously. But, I mean, he's not even going to sign the Progressive Pledge? Okay, now here's another thing that is the big thing. You might say, but remember, Ojeda's campaign is the big thing. Is the big thing. He, look at him. He is the voter that the Democrats need to get. He voted Bernie in the primary, and he voted Trump in the general election. We need to get these, two-time Obama voters who voted progressive in the primary and then didn't go vote on the general election. There are two cogs to that story. One, Ojeda has openly stated that he has never voted for a Democrat for president. Now, to be fair, I haven't either. That's because I couldn't vote in the Democratic primaries in previous elections. But him saying that he's never voted for a Democrat for president, and with the whole thing of oh, I supported Bernie and then voted Trump, that kind of implies that he voted Romney over Obama, McCain over Obama. That implies he's voted Republican for president a long time. And now, Ojeda's supposed to be a working class supporting Democrat, right? That's supposed to be his thing, right? And yet he voted Mitt Romney over Obama? I mean, really? Now, the biggest thing that I've been noticing, and it's been something I've been looking into for a while now, but remember the big thing. That's his whole appeal. He voted Bernie in the primary, and he voted Trump in the general. Okay. How do we know he voted Bernie? Now, you might say, well, I mean, Ojeda said so. Really? Where? Where did he say it? Where? Well, he said in this interview. Oh, yes, this interview. This interview after the fact, of course. I've noticed this. There is literally not a single document that I have found that indicates Ojeda supported Bernie until the election was over. It was only after the 2017, when he was making his rounds to be the candidate in West Virginia District 3, that he was saying, oh, I voted for Bernie and I voted Trump in the general election. And it's now you might say, well, I mean, come on. We have no technical proof that Paula Jean, for example, supported Bernie. Actually, we do. I actually went digging a little more. I went to their Twitters and then searched for any confirmation that they even said Bernie. And sure enough, Paula Jean has one that dates back to 2016. Ojeda does not. Now you might say, well, I mean, come on, Ojeda was a nobody back then. Oh yeah, so was Paula Jean. Paula Jean was a nobody. And technically, Ojeda was not a nobody. Ojeda was a person who ran for Congress in 2014, was running for state senate in 2016, and was a well-known person who was Joe Manchin's State of the Union, invitee. You're telling me that Ojeda couldn't at least say, I endorse Bernie? It's kind of like Yang when he says, oh, I voted for Bernie. Well, technically there's no evidence to back up that claim. But it's not like we can't go back in time and find Andrew Yang and vote and see him vote for him. But, yeah. And it's another thing. Ojeda is hesitant to endorse someone for president, saying, oh, my job prevents me from endorsing someone for president. What job? You sell CBD oils. You sell CBD oils online now, dude. You can't just give a candidate your support. Oh yeah, and I'm a little bothered by Ojeda's Twitter page. I originally followed Ojeda's Twitter page because I wanted to see Ojeda do like what he did in the 2018 primary. Now all he is like a Trump meme, a boomer who posts Trump memes. That's what he does now. It's slightly sad. I wanted to see Ojeda do what Ojeda does best. I kind of wanted to see him go back to West Virginia District 3, finish the job. But no, I'll probably support the person who's running to be the Democratic nominee in West Virginia District 3. So anyways, now let's move on to the smaller candidate of the day, Joe 753. Yes, that's his real name. Joe 753, an independent candidate for president. He was born in 1960. He's single, never married, no offspring. He ran for governor of Illinois in 2018. He said his name is Joe 753 because he was a driver for the Chicago Messenger Service and his driver number was 753. And they just call him 753 forever. So yeah, he's not going to claim to be independent and attempt to get votes from Republicans and people who identify themselves as conservatives. The Republican Party has always been the party of the rich and now has become the party of the stupid as well. And the basic premises of conservatism is incompatible with progress, which is what I'm all about. My ultra-progressive ideas will not appeal to them. But I'm not too happy with the Democratic Party either. Their ideals are only okay. They don't stick to them very well. And they do lousy winning elections. Seriously, if they can't beat the party of stupid, what can they beat? So he's, I guess, a progressive. Let me see. Let me go to his position on healthcare. It's a bit too long. Let me see. His solution, copy Taiwan. Okay, and Australia, Canada, England, Japan, Switzerland take the best elements of their system and assemble them into the world's best healthcare system. Take the burden off employers, dump the insurance companies, forget all about the libertarian free market claptrap, and face the fact that one cost of the members of a civilized nation should be that basically for universal health care. So he's definitely, I guess, progressive. He just said it. Like, his ultra progressive ideas, he's probably gonna get me beat for being like the ultra progressive. So yeah, I'm not gonna bother with the rest of him. What I will do is say there's actually another thing, the Rose Caucus. I know it's not a smaller candidate, but look into the Rose Caucus. It's pretty cool. So anyways, now on to the main topic of today's video. The 7th Democratic debate. And the worst one yet. Seriously, this debate was just terrible. For starters, candidates that should 100% be there are not. Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang are just not there because, polling criterias and blah, blah, blah. And the thing is, this debate was built up to an extent. Like, this is a big debate, technically. It was the final debate before the Iowa caucus. But the debate was boring as hell. And it was, like, so obviously biased. Like, I mean, we talk about, like, I've talked about how, like, the advantage of indie media people is that we wear our biases on our sleeves. I guess CNN took that part and just tried to put it on display because they were wearing their anti-Bernie bias on their sleeve the entire night. And I mean, again, this debate was just boring. I mean, the candidates on the stage, like Joe Biden, Mayor Pete. I don't even know why they call him, like, Mayor Pete. Like, that's his nickname. It's so stupid. And, like, Amy Klobuchar and Tom Steyer, they're like, these are your candidates? These are the ones you're going to claim are the final six? Like, the whole point of them being on the stage is to make people think that these are the top six candidates. It's not true at all. Like, this is so boring. But I'll do my best to try and give you... Look at me, and when I was watching it, the debate, like, skipped, like, multiple portions. That's just, like, it was, like, buffering and stupid and all the stupid shit. But I'll do my best to, like, talk about the debate, but it's just boring. So, yeah. Let me give you my rankings. Okay, so first, at the bottom, we have Amy Klobuchar. Amy Klobuchar I Amy was just being, like, nonsense. Like, I mean, we all know the whole thing. Like, for some reason, Amy's there. And, like, she was, like, really boring. And I'm looking it up right now to see if she had, like, a long amount of time to speak, because I'm not even sure they gave her, like, a long amount of time to speak. She was just boring. Okay. Let's see. No. Well, yes? She had the third amount of time on the debate? Like, percentage of minutes behind Sanders? Seriously? Well, I mean, I guess I shouldn't say seriously, because it's obvious that they do this to, like, get him to, like, not be in the debate. I mean, not even that. Like, she's, like, for some reason, just, they want Klobuchar. They're trying to push Klobuchar to be, like, a big person. If I were dumb, I'd say that Klobuchar's the one that they'd be trying to push, but it's weird. I don't even see, like, what is Amy's deal? I don't get her. Why do people give a shit about Amy Klobuchar? Go away. Nobody cares about you. If logic was a thing, you would not be on the debate stage anymore. You should have been gone a long time ago. Like, guys, let me tell you seriousness. Remember when they first kicked Tulsi off of the debate stage? Alright? Well, she was polling higher than Julian Castro and Amy Klobuchar. Like, here's how the polling went for those three. Gabbard, Castro, Klobuchar. So if they were being serious and actually talking about the top 10 candidates, Klobuchar would not be on the stage. She would have never gone back on the debate stage. They would have forgotten she existed, and she would have dropped out. But for some reason, CNN was like, nope, Amy has to have this bullshit reason for being on the stage. And I'm sick and tired of Amy Klobuchar. Nobody cares. You're not Powell Wellstone, and you never will be. Why did he have to die in the plane crash and not you? I know. That's heartlessly mean, but I only mean it 100%. And in a couple of years, this clip is going to be taken out and just smeared out of proportion. But I don't give a shit, because I say whatever the hell I want. So right above her is Biden. Biden just did his usual, did slightly better than normal. Look at me, but he just did his standard stuff like, I'm Biden. Remember Obama? I'm him, but white, which makes me more civilized. Are we honestly gonna still forget the fact that he said, like, Obama's not like other black people. He's civilized and talks normal. Like, I mean, seriously, we're gonna forget that? But it's okay. He picked Biden as his running mate for a reason. Because he wanted to appeal to black people. Because a black president would never appeal to black people. He needed an old fucking white man to do that. I mean, Biden's Alzheimer's is getting to him so bad, he doesn't even remember why Obama picked him to be his running mate. Now, you might say, well, I mean, Joe Biden doesn't have Alzheimer's. He did an interview with the New York Times where he said, quote, by the way, that's what some of these Bernie people don't get. You have to get to the center, too. I was eating a corn dog the other day. This is like a corn dog with some mustard. Yeah, you gotta get to the middle. It's hard and tough and dry, but you have to eat that, too. You have to eat that to finish it, but it's hard. And the person who was interviewing him said, sir, are you talking about eating a stick? And he's like, oh, what? Seriously? Hey, Joe Biden, do you like corn dog dicks? Yeah? Well, then you're a gay corn dog. Ha 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 ha. Matt Stone, Trey Parker, don't sue me. So yeah, I mean, Biden, he did better than those two, but not by much. Okay, so the next one is Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg is, well, Pete Buttigieg. He mostly does bad, but in this debate he did do decent in some regards. For example, like, one thing he did was, like, he actually called out Trump's fake non-interventionism. That's something even non-interventionist Republicans won't do. And, you know, that foreign policy is, I mean, of course, not all of it, but I mean, certain parts of Pete's foreign policy are decent. You know, when he copies Tulsi and is like, oh, I support pulling the troops out, that's when he's usually good. And it's because he is a soldier that he understands this thing. Now, before I get into the top two, which are pretty obvious, I'm going to have to give you some backstory, even though you all 100% know what is the backstory. Recently, there was a controversy surrounding Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, because Politico released an article which stated that Bernie Sanders said in a secret meeting in 2018 with Elizabeth Warren that a woman could not win the U.S. presidency. Now, the sources of this, two anonymous people who weren't even in the room at the time of the meeting. Now, you might say, well, that's stupid. I mean, that's stupid. Why would these two anonymous people, and why are they anonymous? Now, many people were quick to point out the just blatant lies that was being said. You can just point out the basic lies that were being told in this. Like, for example, people quickly pointed out the video that is very common, where Bernie Sanders says in 1988 that he would have absolutely loved to see a woman be president. He wanted her to win. Like, he would have loved to see a woman president. Many people pointing out the fact that Bernie Sanders was advocating and supporting Hillary Clinton, who got 3 million more votes than Trump. So, obviously, a woman can become president. Many people were pointing out the fact that in 2016, Bernie was trying to get Warren to run for president. He was joining the many draft groups to try and get Warren to run for president, because he had a higher profile than him. And, unsurprisingly, many people were just pointing out the simple truth that Bernie's just not sexist, despite the fact that what mainstream media wants you to believe. He's not sexist. He's just shown 100% just the truth of that. He's not sexist at all. Now, when all these people were pretty much debunking and showing the truth of this, Warren then decides to butt in and say, well, I mean, he said that, but I'm not going to discuss it any further because Bernie is my friend. And it's like, Warren, that proves you're lying. That proves you're lying. Because, let me explain. Let's say me and Bernie, let's say I was a prominent presidential candidate. Like, I'm like, hey, Bernie, I'm going to run for president. And then Bernie says, a dirty mulatto like you would never run. Do you think I'd just sit quietly on that for 2 years and then go, I got it. I'm going to use it now so that I can win the presidency. Like, no, I'd say that on day one. And I mean, there were articles on the day of the meeting that say they were just like, both walked out and they were happy. Like, I mean, Ro Khanna was there, I think. Like, Ro Khanna, he wasn't in the room, but he was there. He was like, yeah, I mean, these two were like, they seemed fine when they walked out. Now, this, of course, was brought up during the debate. And Bernie, of course, just said the truth and said, no, I didn't say it. And then Warren, of course, said again, well, when you said it, and the thing is, like, the reason why originally it just seemed like, oh, some bad actors were just being bad, maybe, because here's the thing, Warren could have easily clarified the message. Many people who, like, explain it, like, she could have clarified the message and said, hey, the reason why he said a woman couldn't win is because Trump would use every dirty tactic in the book to make it so that a woman would seem like less of a good choice for a president, like he did with Hillary Clinton. But she didn't. She just doubled down and then refused to discuss further. Like, I mean, it's obvious that she's lying. And, like, I mean, there is no middle ground here. She lied. Like, I mean, even the whole mischaracterization thing, that could only be explained if she clarified the statement, which she didn't. If she clarified the statement, then it would have been a simple accident, a mischaracterization that can easily be fixed. But it was not rectified. She just said, yeah, he said it. The end. But it's like, oh, Bernie is my friend. Like, I mean, seriously, you need to clarify the statement. And it even got heated because, I mean, at one point at the debate, the cameras were still rolling, but the anchors were still moving on. And we see Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. They're doing the whole thing of like everybody like shaking hands with each other. But then Warren walks up to Bernie and she starts talking to him. And we can see during the footage that it gets a bit heated. I mean, Bernie, of course, you know, his hands are moving. You know, because Bernie, whenever he talks, he moves his hands like he's making hand movements and such. Tom Steyer and Pete Buttigieg, they walk in. They're like, And people were doing their best to try and figure out what the conversation was between the two candidates. Like, here's what happened. Lip readers were trying to see, like, what was the conversation. Some of the lip readers came out with saying, like, oh, I can't shake hands with you, Brittany, because I have a cold. Then some people, they were saying, like, Bernie, when he was pointing at him and Warren, like, you and me, we are done. Like, that's what many people were reading into it. But here's what the conversation actually was.
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
What?
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
Let's not do it right now. You want to have that discussion, we'll have that discussion. You called me, you told me. All right, let's not do it now.
Like, I mean, you can hear it in Bernie's voice that he's just tired of this. Like, I mean, the thing is, the media actually kind of whistleblowed on itself here, because the media kind of made it accidentally, but sort of indicated it's speculative where the information came from. They made it obvious that it was the Warren campaign who released the original story. And, I mean, it's not like people didn't speculate that it was the Warren campaign, but the media kind of outright confirmed it's probably not. It's probably the Warren campaign that came out with this info. It's obviously the Warren campaign that released this information. And I mean, yeah, it is kind of obvious. This was a plan to undermine Bernie. It backfired, and now Warren doesn't want anything to do with this plan because it's the only hypothetical damage that has been done has been done. And I mean, the poll numbers have shown, like, it ain't working. Like, I mean, it only brought, like, slight disagreement or slight problems for Bernie. But I mean, since she can't elaborate because it's not true, I mean, that's just a given. She can't elaborate because it's not true. And as such, there's been trending tabs of, like, never Warren. Warren is a snake. And I mean, while I'm not explicitly anti-Warren, I'm probably, like, it's always been, like, a so-so if I'm gonna vote for Warren, should she be the general election nominee. Because I said I'm gonna have to, like, wait at least, like, a week or two after the election, not after the election, but, like, after the convention to see, like, are there any leaks that I should know about? Like, is there any information to show that this is, like, blatantly stolen? Is there, like, will Warren campaign more to the right than before? Are there any candidates that are, like, is Bernie going to mount a third-party bid? Is Gabbard going to mount a third-party bid? Is the Green Party going to nominate a decent candidate? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So yeah, pretty much, I mean, like, just by the exchange, it's obvious. Number 2 is Warren, and number 1 is Bernie. The reason why Warren's at number 2 is very simple. This whole BS just couldn't make her go higher than 1. But I mean, whenever she wasn't focused on that, she did focus, well, on the policies. And I mean, Bernie, because even though it was obvious that the field was stacked against him, he still did well. I mean, when he's handed the deck of cards that don't like him, I mean, what do you expect him to do? So, I guess that's it. So, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified when a future video of mine comes out. And if you're interested in more content from me, you can go to my website or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Quora, or check out my articles on the Independent Political Report.